And we are joined now by Ricky Hatton's former boxing promoter, Frank Warren. Frank, thank you for joining us this evening. Terribly, terribly sad news. Boxing and British sport has lost a very special fighter today.
They have indeed. It's very, very sad news, and circumstances are just awful. But, you know, what can you say? Ricky touched everybody in the UK. And probably, boxing fans around the world, but certainly in the UK, he was the fans' favourite. They loved him. I never heard a bad word from anybody about him. You know, he's just such a nice guy. And I remember signing him as a pro, and he made his debut with me when he was 18, after I met with him and Billy Graham, his then trainer, to turn him over. And we worked as a team together. I made the matches for him. Bill trained him. And that led up to which I think was the zenith of his career, when he fought Manny Pacquiao. At that time was pound for pound #1 in the world. Ricky was a big underdog, and we waited and plotted for that fight. We could have probably done it maybe a year earlier, which I felt was too soon for him, but we picked it right, and he'd done the business in the ring in amazing style. It was a massive upset. As far as a lot of people were concerned, but we felt he could win the fight, and he did that in a most amazing fight. And on the way to that fight, he built up this massive fan following. I look back at when he made I think it was at Widnes, he made his debut, and he says himself he sold 3 tickets for that fight. You know, after fighting Zoo and going off to the States and fighting Manny Pacquiao and Mayweather, when he fought Mayweather, he took 30,000 people with him. That was the love for Ricky Hatton. That's how people felt about it. He was an amazing fighter, and it was unfortunate for him that he was in the generation of Mayweather and Pacquiao, who were real quality modern-day greats. If they weren't around, he would have been world champion for a long, long while.
That connection, Frank, between fans and fighter is the one that Hatton had with his supporters, perhaps the most special that you've known in boxing.
Yeah, because they liked him. They see him as a man of the people. There were some times where he was a bit too friendly with fans in the pub and so forth. But sometimes I'm being very nice. I didn't like. But having said that, he connected, and they see him as a man of the people, and he was a man of the people. You know, he's well liked. I mean, look at them today at Man City. You know, he thoroughly deserved that. You know, they got the Manchester derby. Both sides appreciated him, showed the love for him. You know, that's what he was. That's what he was. They loved him. He was one of their own, and he was a unique, not boxer. He was a unique sporting hero.
Ricky made a documentary. It was very powerful. It was brutally honest look at his personal life and his mental health battles. What the bravery in opening up and talking about those issues is surely a great legacy for him.
It was. I had a podcast as well that he was doing. He came on that, and we did and it was a similar thing. But the documentary was on Sky, wasn't it? It was quite in some ways it was very revealing, and it showed maybe some of the causes that led him to have his lapses or hiccups in his life. Like, you know, everybody has things like that, but he worked very hard to overcome them. But it definitely did affect him, some of the things that happened behind the scenes. And it was very, very sad, very sad. And, you know, and I think that did hurt him in a lot of ways. And it was a great shame. But, you know, he was an unbelievable person. I mean, he's a dad, he's a granddad, he's a brother. You know, he's just a lovely guy. But there were those personal battles and personal demons that he was fighting.
And Frank, how do you think he should be remembered?
One of the greats, one of the British greats. I mean, you know, as I said, if it wasn't for Mayweather, who was undefeated as a boxer, a great fighter. Manny Pacquiao, great. I mean, these guys are up there with with the Alis and the big names of their generation. If it wasn't for those, Ricky would have held that belt for a long, long time. And he beat, no one must forget, he beat Costa Zoo, who was the #1. He was the best. He was with that in those days. He was with Showtime TV. They They invested a lot of time, a lot of money. He was winning, he was the champion. He was winning fights. And, to be considered number one, the best in the world, you've got to be some fighter. And Ricky beat him and didn't just beat him. He broke his heart. They pulled him out in the corner, and it was a fabulous night. And he said on many occasions that was the greatest night of his life because, one, he won the title, but it was in his hometown in Manchester where we made it happen.
Frank, thank you so much for your time this evening.
It's a pleasure. And rest in peace, Ricky, and God bless you.